All right, today I'm gonna just show you a really simple way to feed your starter. Well, it's pretty simple, probably most ways, but I'm trying to keep it simple. I do use a scale. I do recommend a scale if you bake a lot. It has made my life easier, less dishes. And then you want to put your bowl or whatever you're gonna feed your starter in on top of the scale, and then tare it so it goes back to 0. And then this is the starter. I keep mine in the fridge. I'll probably do another video on how to keep your starter real easily in the fridge so it's not too much work. And the way you're going to feed your starter is you just want 1 to 1 to 1, which means 1 part starter, 1 part water, and 1 part flour. I've got my flour down here. So whatever you need for your recipe. So for example, if you need 50 grams for the recipe of active starter, for the recipe that you're going to make, it's probably best to start with, do a 25, 25, 25. So you'll wind up with 75, because you always want a little left over. In fact, if I was doing a recipe that called for 50, I would probably do, I would do maybe even a little more than what I just told you, 25, 25, 25. So you end up closer to 100. But anyhow, it's just a numbers game. You want to end up with enough left over that you don't use up all your starter. So today I'm doing a lot. So I'm actually going to put in like 125 because I'm probably going to make several recipes. So I'm going to do 125, and the liquid in it is just fine. You can pour it off or you can pour it in your jar. It really doesn't matter. That's called the hooch. It does not mean it's bad. Okay, so actually what I put in reached 130, so I'm just going to go with that. And then I can put the lid back on and just stick it in my fridge, or if I'm concerned about how long I haven't fed what remains in the jar, sometimes I'll just when I'm done doing this, I'll just add like 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of water to give it like a little snack, and then stick it in the fridge. I don't leave it out or anything. And that just keeps it happy and busy. So once we have our 130, I'm going to tare it again so it goes back to 0. Now for water, I always use, you never want to use hot water. It can kill your starter, but you can definitely use warm water, especially in the colder months if you don't want it to take forever for your starter to become active. If you use warmer water, it will get active more quickly. So I have just kind of like lukewarm water here. I'm going to do exact same amount of starter as I have in there, which is 130 grams. And it doesn't have to be, I'm at 128, so I can try and make it perfect, but it really does. Yeah, it worked, 130 exactly. But it's not that big of a deal if it's a little bit off, but you're going for it being equal. So then we're going to tare it again. And I'm just going to pour in, I use whole wheat flour for my starter, but I use regular white bread flour when I make bread. You can use whoever you got your starter from. I recommend just kind of going with what they're doing that's working well for their starter. Your starter kind of gets used to its routine. So a little bit more here. There we go. We're at 130. And that's it for feeding your starter. So then you just want to stir this up. And then what I do is I cover it with, I have just the lids that fit on these Tupperwares. You can cover it with plastic. You can cover it with a cloth. You don't want it to be like super airtight. So my lids are cracked. So they definitely get air still. They're not airtight, but it covers it enough to keep it from like getting contaminated with anything else that's happening in the kitchen. So you stir it up till it's all just mixed together well, and there's no more dry flour left. I'll show you what that looks like. There you go. And then I just set this on the counter till it gets active. It looks like a nice bubbly consistency. I'll show you that when it's ready. But that's feeding your starter. So like I said, you can just plop this right back into the fridge, or you can throw in 25 or 50 grams of flour and water if you want to feed it, build it up a little. I never have to discard my my starter using this method because I'm always calculating, so I have about exactly what I want. If I ever do get like kind of an excess, I usually make crackers with them because they make great crackers, but there's a myriad of things you can make with excess starters. So anyhow, that's feeding your starter. Super simple.